Okay, so if you go to the assignment and you're opening up the first link in that document, that is a SSA.gov, Social Security Agency Administration, excuse me, .gov, and this brings you to a research page on what's referred to as baby names, and they keep track of all the baby names from 1880 until 2020, each in its own file in a year, of how many people were named a certain name with a certain gender. And what you can do is glean from that with programming a 140-year trend of a name. And so if you're born in a foreign country or perhaps have a unique name, this may not show up because you have to have at least 5 occurrences of the name. Otherwise, they deem it so unique that they don't want to divulge your privacy. So they don't let you do that. So if your name's very unique, it won't show up. But you can still research other names, perhaps names in your family, or names from historical figures, or just any names that you might be interested in. So anyway, what you need to do is click on National Data. And this is a 7 MB file, and when you click on it, you should see a download bar show up here saying that it's downloading. Now, unfortunately, I don't think you can do this on a Chromebook. So we're going to have to work out some other solutions. If you could use a real computer at home, if you have one. If not, you would need to use the Macintosh that you have when you're at school. And I won't penalize you for turning in late. So if you're in quarantine, you come back later, we can help you get caught up with this, okay? And there's other solutions we can think of as well. So anyway, when this was downloaded, it came down as names.zip. And next to it is a little up arrow here. Now, I'm using the Chrome browser. And if you go there, you can say open. You notice that there's also Show in Finder. That would open my downloads folder. That's where this file went. But if I just hit open, that'll do what we need. What is happening behind the scenes here is that it's unzipping that folder called names. It's a very large folder in the sense that it has 140 files. In school, it'll actually take over your computer and close the browser and show that you're expanding this zip file. And here comes Finder to tell me that. And there it is. And so let me just move that up here. And so anyway, this is the guy that we want, names. It was a zip file, but we want this, okay? So now that it's on your computer, and hopefully this is at home or at a Macintosh at school, and then you can certainly, once we upload this to Replit, work on it from home. But you have to be at school on a real computer, not a Chromebook. So now what I'd ask you to do is, once you have this downloaded to your computer, is to go to Replit and create a Python program, not Python with Turtle, but just Python. Call it babyNames, if you will, and hit Create Replit. You'll know you've done it right if there's a black box over here, panel over here, and it says Python 3.8.2. All right, so what we're going to do is bring that folder in here, all right? And so the way you do that is you go to these 3 dots on the Files panel here, top right, and say Upload Folder. And it should direct you to Downloads, but sometimes I've seen it go to Names up at the top, and you don't want that. So let's see what the dialog box says here. My computer's kind of slow. Yeah, it kicked me to Documents. We don't want that. We want to go to Downloads. And here's Downloads, and if I click on that, let me make this smaller. There's Downloads, and so once I clicked on these 3 dots, I click on here and say Upload. And if you're at school, and now it asks, do you really want to do this? It's 142 files. You do. And you hit Upload. So this is the part you can't do on a Chromebook, is to bring these files in. So be patient. At school, it takes about 30 seconds. We'll see how long it takes here. Replic's an online service, so we're having to take these 7 megs of files and move them to the Replit server, which I think is in the East Coast. And there we go. Finally, it's here. It says names, and it has a little triangle next to it, or arrow, meaning that it's collapsible and or expandable, and so you can expand that by clicking on that. Again, it's 140 files, so give it time for it to populate. You see it takes a little while. We ask that you please bear with us. There we go. I'm sure your internet's faster than mine. Well, here are all the files, and they're all being kind of hinky coming in. Believe me, there's from 1880 to 2020. Okay, once they all get here. And it's still thinking about coming in. Isn't that crazy? I'm sure you don't have an internet connection this slow. And if you don't have an internet connection at home, just wait till we get back to school and you'll be fine. Alrighty, well here we go. There are all those files. One of the things I tell kids before we even look at running the program is to open up one of these files. You notice it says YOB and then a year and then .txt. Usually there's someone in the room who goes, oh, it's year of birth, right? And that's correct. And so a lot of kids that I'm working with now on this project are born in like 2009. And you click on that and it opens up the file. And so you're seeing 140 files like this. It starts with females and then works its way down to males, and it usually goes in order of popularity. And so in this year, 2009, Isabella was very popular. 22,000 females were named that. Isabella, the gender, which is F for female, and then how many people were named that. And again, you don't appear on this list unless you have 5 or more people named that. And as I scroll down, you can see there's lots of 5s, and now we're into the males. Okay, and so it's a pretty large file. As I look to the left, it's over 20,000 lines. Now it's 31,000 lines of code or data here. We get to the bottom here. And so, yeah, almost 35,000 lines of data. And that's just one of the files of 140. What I tell kids to do in any program when you're looking at data, like a web page or a document or this, click anywhere in it, and then usually Command F on a Macintosh or Control F on a Windows machine will give you a find prompt, Command F or Control F, and you can type in, oh, I'm looking for my name, so I type in Scott, my name. And you're going to see very many variations of it. There's Scott Lynn, there's females, there's 14 named that year. So I have to go through these 8 instances of the character string Scott. And there I finally find myself probably. And you know, there's not very many people named that in the year 2009. When I run my name Scott with the program, you're going to see that it peaked long before this. And so I just wanted you to be able to see what the file looks like and stuff. So now take the scroll bar and move all the way back up and open up main.py, which should be empty. This is where you paste in the program. In years past, I would take the time to explain the code to everybody and we type it in one at a time. But what I'm seeing coming after the pandemic, I think it's better just to share the code with you. And it's actually pretty advanced code. I don't expect you to understand all of it. I do have comments in there, though. If you really wanted to read it, you can figure out how. So I think I figured out what we're going to do. We're going to take, I'm going to share with you this baby text. And so look for that in the directions. And you'll have access to this. It'll be shared with you. It's called baby.txt. You right-click on that and say Open With and use Text Editor. And when you do that, it'll come in here. Just do Control-A or Command-A and Command-C to select all and copy. And then that's what you should be able to paste in here. So in main.py, paste that in and you should be in business. Now, again, like I said, in years past, I've walked people through creating this code, and I'm not doing that this semester. And so I do have explanations of every line of code in here. That's what all the gray text is about. When Python reads a line, it reads this information right here, and then once it comes to a pound sign, it skips to the next line. And what that allows you to do is to write notes to yourself or other users to what this code does. And so we're opening and closing these 142 files or 141 files one at a time, and we got to create a variable to hold the year so that when I call the file name to open, I can use the year to make that happen. And we have a while loop that begins at 1880 and then runs to 2020. And once it sees 2021, it stops, and then it'll print out your results down here. I'll leave it to you to read all this if you're very interested. So now we have a program that should run. Let's see if it does. And the code's not important at this point. You can, kind of do one of these if you need to. And even this you could collapse if you wanted. So now if you ran this, and it says name. So I'll type in my name. And as you remember in the files, the first letter is capitalized. You type in the name and hit enter, and that goes in the variable called name. And then you type either capital M or capital F. I'm going to type capital M. And then once I hit enter, the program's opening and closing those 140 files. And you can see it's pretty quick. And so it went through, a lot of lines of data. And this is your 1880 number. Right here, 60 is. So it goes from 1880 all the way down to 2020 right here. And so here's what you do with that data. You create a new tab and go to sheets.new. This is what you're going to turn in. And when it opens up, please give it a name, if and when it feels like opening here on my slow machine. And here we go. Come on now. And so here's what I want you to do here before we paste in that data. Let me make this bigger so you can see what we're doing. So in your new Sheets file, we're going to put in the data for all the names. And so here we're going to put year, and then hit tab and type in the name that you're researching, the first name. Then hit enter, and you're brought back to A2. Well, we need a numbering system from 1880 to 2020. So what you do is you show the computer a pattern. So in A2, type 1880 and hit enter. In A3, type 1881 and hit enter. Now, you highlight both of these cells starting at 1880 in the white area and just pull down. They're both highlighted, you let up. Right over here is a little blue square. That's called the fill handle. Click and hold and drag on that and pull down to row 142. Let up, and it should go from 1880 to 2020. You showed it the pattern, and it completed it for you. So now we're going to paste in the data for Scott, and that's what we had in the run system right here. And so, ran Scott, put down male, got to be capitalized, both things, and then highlight this. And get to the last one, let up, and do Control-C or Command-C if you're on a Macintosh, and go to your spreadsheet. And now at B2, paste that in. And you should see now that the data only stops right at the right spot at 2020, and it does, and it coincides. A good thing to remember to do before you get any further is go back here and clear out the shell or the console, and that way the next time you run the program, you hit run, it'll be nice clean data and you don't accidentally highlight too much or other previous runs. So I've seen that be a problem. So go back here and we're going to do the next person. And let's see here. Let's try one of my siblings. His name is Tom. It'll be Thomas, right? And he's my oldest brother. And so we'll try that one. I kind of got ahead of myself. I didn't make the chart, but I'll make one right now after this. So Thomas. I'll make both charts and I'll get out of your way. Male. And here's his number. It's a biblical name, so it's going to be a lot more popular. Copy that. And we put that right here for Thomas. Now let's make some charts of this. I'd like to see, maybe 10 names that you could do. And here's how this works. And again, I cleared out the data or the console so that I made sure that I wasn't, previously copying other stuff. And again, make sure that you clear this out so every time you run it new, you've got what you need, and there's no other data that's going to be in your way. So come back up here, and here's how it works. I want this column and this column, and so you could just click on A and drag across to B. That's one way to do it. And so just hit Insert Chart over here. If you don't see that, it's under the Insert menu, Chart. And this is for Scott, and it's going to say Scott versus year here. I want you to fix that. I'm going to close the editor for a moment and just move it to its own sheet. And down here, I'm going to rename this and call it Scott. This right here is my data. I'll call it data. Go back to Scott here. You can certainly mess with the background colors, the thickness of this line, that kind of stuff. If you double click on here, it'll open up the editor. And right here is line color, and there's line thickness. You can do something like that. And here it is, the pattern. You want to see the year at the bottom and the number of people named Scott over here. And you can see this y-axis needs to go all the way up to 40,000. Because it looks like in whatever year here this is, if we click on it, it should show us. Maybe not. Oh, if I get out of the editor. If I go here, I can see each year. I believe I'm over here somewhere in 1959. A little further down. Here I am. And just when I got named that, the name was just rising in popularity for the last few years. And then it continued to rise, dipped a bit, and rose again. Kind of got a Batman thing happening. And then it dips off. And that's not uncommon with popular names like Scott, where they come into vogue and then they leave just as quickly. So let me show you how you do Tom, and then it's just a matter of repeating all this. And, I don't like it when I scroll and I can't see everything. Remember, if you don't recall, that's under View Freeze, the first row. That way you kind of see this kind of thing going on. Just always look over here, make sure you're at the very top where it's 2. All right, let's do Thomas. Now remember, you can't just click here and then try to click here and make it happen. You've got to hold down the Control key on a Windows machine or the Command key on a Macintosh and click on C, and then you can do these two things, the year and the results for Thomas. And so make a chart. And let's move it to its own sheet. I prefer that. And please have that and your tabs labeled as well. So down here, this would be Thomas. And I didn't change the title of the other one, but I do want it to not say versus year, please. This would just be like something like 1880 to 2020. This is in the United States only, of course. And so it looks like it peaked at 50,000 almost. Pretty crazy. And again, you can change the background of this if you'd like. And whatever you'd like to do. The cooler that you make it, the better, especially for like your mom or dad, the people that named you. They'd be very interested in this data, and I hope you do take the time to show them what you're doing and what all this means. And again, here I'd have to maybe make the font bigger or at least make the font white, and that may take a while to do that, but I'm always into that when you do that. And same thing with the axis label. And you can make these bigger as well, and the more custom you make it, the more I'll recognize it in scoring. Okay, when I score this. So I just think it's fascinating data, and your parents will really into it, I think. And what's nice is when you're done here, and I'm not going to keep messing around here, but just know that you can kind of really make a difference with your customization. But what's really neat is they can go, oh, what year Tom was born? Like my brother is 12 years older than me, so he was a post-war baby. I want to say 47. So again, you can see Thomas was a name that was coming up the ranks, and so I believe there he is. He was one of 44,838 people. And you can see then that the name is drawn down again. So it's interesting stuff. Try to have like 10 slots. Talk to your relatives and say, oh, let's do it, this person's name, that person's name. And again, you just hold down the A and then click on whatever column you're trying to chart that time, and you'll end up with all these cool charts. And that's what I want to see when I go through your slide or your sheets, is that you took the time to make it all look great. So don't accept something that has the default. Make it look insanely great. Maybe use their favorite colors. Who knows? And then this is the file that you would add to the assignment and turn in. You guys are great. I really hope you show this to your parents. I've gotten such great feedback from people in the years past. I haven't had kids do this in 2 years, so I'm real excited to see what you do with it. Thank you very much.